Hello there. Keir Starmer wants to lock criminals away for longer so as to reduce the prison overcrowding crisis. Sounds very counterintuitive, doesn't it? So what's the real and devious reason for it then? What a total omnishambles. Here we are with a political prisoner-sparked prison overcrowding crisis, and the Prime Minister Keir Starmer wants to give magistrates the powers to lock people up for even longer. What could possibly go wrong? Oh, and here's an interesting tweet from Starmer from 5 years ago, in response to Boris Johnson announcing a plan to build another 10,000 prison places. Increasing prison places does not reduce crime, said Starmer. Investing in Sure Start, primary schools and youth services is what makes the difference. So I would also construe that as a massive no to increased or excessive prison terms then. Something that Starmer appears to have U-turned on and is very wedded to now that he's identified this mythical far right as the new enemy of his budding communist state. He's suddenly grown very interested in harsher sentences, hasn't he? Just like he's suddenly found a U-turn attraction to sending asylum seekers abroad to Albania for processing, and what about this plan to send prisoners to Estonia? Has this man no pride? Does he think the masses have no memory? Does he think we're all that stupid that we can't see right through him? It's a sad fact of life that those like Starmer are just part of this hyper-left-wing minority who believe that those with right-wing leanings really are more dangerous than muggers, burglars and the religiously inspired terrorists. And the Starmer regime is desperate to lock 'em up and throw away the key. But as recent events show, only those who hold dissenting views, it seems. They have a vision for you, a vision that does not include your free thought and speech. Anyway, right now there is a massive logjam of cases within the court system. And because of that, we have a large number of prisoners held on remand in prison awaiting a court case at some time months into the future. And when they eventually do get to court, they could get sentenced to less time than they've already served on remand, so they could all just be let free. But this recent crackdown on dissent has led to some people being held on remand out of political spite rather than need, thus exacerbating the overcrowding issue. But they get around this in part by not laying charges against some other people. The right sort of people. When the video evidence at an airport, for example, suggests they should be charged. And I have heard that the authorities are far more interested in finding out how such videos are leaked rather than in the subjects shown in the videos. But I have no proof to back that up, just anecdotal stuff. So as a judge would order a jury, disregard the last statement. As if. Now, if you wanted to clear the overcrowded court and prison system to open up space for anyone who was even just in the vicinity of a far-right rally where someone disposed of a recyclable coffee cup in the wrong bin and you wanted to lock them all up for it, I don't know, anti-climate rioting, then how would you go about it? How would you engineer a system of getting the pro-UK dissenters of communism into jail while letting out those who would continue to damage society to the point the hard left would have to step in with massively draconian methods to impose communism on us all to save the day? How would you ensure that at the same time those already recently locked up for far-right activity remain there for their full sentence with no early release? How would you do all of that? Without it being too obvious, of course, that you were letting vicious repeat offenders out to roam the streets at will and be replacing them with the nasty right-wing Twitterati. Well, you put in place an accelerator to allow magistrates' courts to plough through the cases as quickly as possible without bothering the equally hard-pressed more senior Crown courts. That way the magistrates' courts can quickly get those on remand for physical crimes back out onto the streets on the basis of time served on remand, freeing up space for those accused of virtual crimes who can then be locked up forever longer, and more importantly, be kept there. And all the while continue the softly approach of not detecting, arresting and locking up the shoplifters, the burglars and the machete wielders, for example. I mean, it's the long-held lefty view, as illustrated by the Starmer tweet I referred to at the start, that prison doesn't help the criminal, isn't it? That locking them up for so long is counterproductive, etc. That we must treat all first offenders with kid gloves. That we must take the time and spend the money on understanding them and catering for their needs over ours. We've heard it for years, haven't we? But now we find out that all that depends on whether or not the criminal is someone who is fed up and angry about the way their country is being trashed around them, of course. And those types of people, who according to the establishment are just a litany of ists and isms, must be treated harshly to deter them, and others like them, from ever attempting anything like it ever again. Sounds all a bit one-sided or two-tier, doesn't it? I'll put it bluntly. If a viciously rapid and harsh approach by the criminal justice authorities works so well against the recent so-called far-right rioters, then why can it not work against the knife-wielding scourge? How many social media images and videos must we watch of knife gangs and worse battling it out on the streets and mugging people? Why can't a harsh crackdown work against the tsunami of shoplifting we're seeing? Something that puts huge upward pressure on shop prices for the ordinary, law-abiding citizen. But preventing those sorts of nation, society and economy-killing crimes is not on the establishment uniparty agenda, is it? And has not been for many a decade. And when the ordinary citizens get irate about all this, they are the ones instantly targeted for the harsh crackdown, together with the claims that there's no justification for their far-right actions and therefore no need to listen to them or understand them, and a real need to squash far-right first offenders to disincentivise others. So what won't work against the rapidly rising tide of knife wielders and serial shoplifters will work against concerned citizens who take it too far. One set of criminality must be understood and forgiven, the other must be locked up and the key thrown away. There you have it, two sets of criminals dealt with in a completely different two-tier way. But it may be even darker than that. What if the authorities think that only one type of demographic will be scared into obedience by the thought of prison, while maybe another type of demographic will not be? Maybe more two-tier justice? Now that way a very bleak future lies. And you do have to ask if that is the reasoning behind this new initiative to allow magistrates to mete out harsher penalties. Clear the prison estate of serial physical prisoners to fill it with virtual criminals of the political variety. And the more of the latter that plead guilty on first court appearance, the easier it will be. And given the right sort of pressure, those far-right miscreants will fess up, as a certain Mr. T's new documentary on those convicted to very long sentences after the so-called far-right riots will illustrate. Something that will make the 26th of October a truly eye-opening event. Be there, peacefully, and make a difference.